Hey there, Titans, and welcome back to another Titan Academy video. Today, we'll be focusing on the Salesforce actions in action flows and some of the more advanced features that are related to those kind of actions. First, we'll show you how to return an ID from a record that you've just created in Salesforce. Next, we'll show you how to run a custom order of execution to make sure that the records are created in the proper order. Following that, we'll show you what parallel load means and how that can further optimize your project. Next, we'll show you what run in background is and some of the implications of using the run in background feature. After that, we'll show you the ignore validations feature and explain what that does. And finally, we'll discuss the Google CAPTCHA feature, which can secure your Salesforce integrations. Let's get started. Now, most of the things on the docket today are things that we've discussed in the past, so we will merely review the things that we've already shown and show you some new things as well. So first, let's show how we can return IDs after we've created records in Salesforce. Now, this is important because, and we've gone over this in previous videos, but if I want to create a push, I can either relate these by nesting my pushes together, and I can do that either by dragging it or simply by creating a child like this. And that works great, but sometimes we don't want to nest our pushes. And in those cases, we might want to set up our relationships in a different way. So for example, here under contact, I have an account ID field, which is essentially my lookup to my account. And in order to associate these records together, I need to populate this lookup field with an account ID that I want to connect it to. Now, in this case, I want to use an account ID that I'm creating right before my contact. And so I need to get the new account ID that I'm creating in Salesforce, return that to a variable in my project so that I can then use that to populate the lookup field for the lookup field to account from contact in Salesforce. Now it's important to keep in mind I'm showing this with contact, account, and files, but we can do this with any set of objects as long as there is a relationship between them. All right, so notice that I'm using this parameter, and you can watch our videos on how to set up parameters to learn how to do this. All right, so you can check out those other videos to see how to set up a parameter. In this case, it's a page parameter that's going to hold my account ID. And I also have one that I've created to hold my contact ID so that when I create my contact, I can then associate it with the file that I will create afterwards, just like this with my first published location being my contact ID. But how can I populate this variable with the newly created contact? So I'm going to head over to my push here. And you can see I've already set up a push. And I've already done this, but let's clear it out and we'll start from scratch. So we want to first create an account. And after our accounts are created, we want to create a contact. And finally, we want to create a file. Now, in order for me to associate this contact with this account, I need to return the account ID to my account ID variable, just like this. And same thing with my contact, I want to return my contact ID to that variable. And this way, I'm able to leverage these variables that are in my project in order to populate those lookup fields. Now, keep in mind that it is a bit dangerous to return record IDs into your project, and there is something that isn't 100% safe with this. So you might want to rethink how you're doing this and possibly run a new query like a find, or possibly simply nest your push, but there are scenarios where you have to do this. The next thing I'm going to show here, and it's something that's already ticked, is the custom order of execution. We've discussed this in the past, but just to mention, we need to make sure that these records are being created in the correct order. I don't want my contact created before my account because that would mean that my contact cannot be associated with this account. So in order to do so, I simply put the order that I would like for them to be created, just like this, and my integrations will run according to this order. We've also mentioned parallel load, but this is an important feature because it actually can help optimize our project, make our project run a lot faster. And this will basically mean that all of my integrations under this node will run at the same time. Now, in our scenario right here, this wouldn't make sense to use because these are sequenced. They have some kind of dependency, and it is required that the previous integration is run before the next one can run. But in certain scenarios, you might want to run them all in parallel in order for higher level of optimization and performance. All right, the next thing, and we'll actually demonstrate this, is something called run in background. What run in background does is it essentially turns off the Titan preloader, which freezes your screen and doesn't allow your end user to do anything. And instead, it allows your end user to continue to either navigate away from the page or click more buttons while you're running it. Now, the advantage of this is that we can actually allow our end user to keep working while certain things are running in the background. On the other hand, we are allowing our end user to possibly mess up their integration by either navigating away from the page or clicking a button multiple times because they don't really realize that it's being clicked. So let's just take a look at how that looks, just so that we could see maybe some of the issues with this. So I'm just going to fill in some data here. We'll put in an email. We'll choose a file. And now notice I'm going to click finish, and we cannot see that an integration ran. And because of that, my end user could end up clicking this several times. I've clicked it a few times now. And if we look at our integration logs, we can see that I just kept on running the same thing. I mean, some of these failed because I had duplicate roles in Salesforce, but I ran the same integration multiple times, wasting API calls. And again, I could have navigated away from the page, and then the integration possibly wouldn't work at all. And so there are some risks. It's better in a lot of scenarios to leave on the preloader and not put this on run in background, because once I have the preloader, and now let's take a look, and we'll do the same thing. Right, just add our file. And now when I click finish, notice the preloader launches. I can't click anything else, and I, as an end user, understand what exactly happened just now. All right. The next thing that we're going to talk about is something that we talked about in a previous video, so we'll talk about it shortly. That is the ignore validation option that we have here. And that essentially allows us to ignore any validations that are being run under this particular Salesforce node. Now that could be good because sometimes you might be running a get that brings back empty values and validates fields that you don't actually want to be validated. And so in this case, you can actually ignore validations on the Titan end so that when that get runs and those mandatory fields are populated with empty values, you don't end up triggering validations, and instead you simply bring back the empty values and they're not affected. So you can see our previous video about this, but this can also be a helpful feature. The final feature here to talk about is the CAPTCHA, and we have a particular video showing exactly how to set this up, so we won't go too deep into this, but this will allow you to set up a CAPTCHA on the action level. You can also, and we've shown this in a previous video, set up a CAPTCHA to secure your form on the entire get so that every single time this get is run, and I'll just show you quickly. For example, if I run a Salesforce integration and I verify CAPTCHA here, so this will make sure that every single time this push is run, we are verifying that it is coming from a trustworthy source and not some kind of malicious actor. But if I only want this to happen on the action level, meaning in this particular time that I run my push, then I can tick it right over here, and that would allow me to run the CAPTCHA on this particular action as opposed to every time that I run this push. And again, you can watch the video to see how to set up your Google CAPTCHA. So here, those are just a few advanced features when using the Salesforce node, and that's how it's done.